Hello and welcome to the Art of Costume podcast. I'm Elizabeth Joy Glass of House Stark.
And I am King of the North, Spencer Williams.
King of the North?
Look, everyone just throws that title around. I just figured I would give it a go.
They do. They do throw that title around a bit.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today we are talking about Game of Thrones. Oh my gosh.
What a throwback.
What a throwback. I'm so excited. Game of Thrones. I mean, this show was the catalyst for the Art of Costume podcast. I mean, Elizabeth and I used to get together all the time with all of our friends and do watch parties, themed parties, went to concerts, dressed up.
Yes.
I almost got a Game of Thrones tattoo.
You did almost. I forgot about that.
I stopped myself, but
it was literally the first thing I was like, oh, I can talk to this person about Game of Thrones.
And I mean, we're going to get into it, but the costumes of Game of Thrones really were so monumental.
So
they really inspired the Art of Costume podcast from a young age. We didn't know it back then, but if it wasn't for Game of Thrones, I don't know that we'd be sitting.
It was like Lord of the Rings opened our interest in the costume design, and then Game of Thrones came and was like, look at what we can do with it.
Exactly. So we have a great episode today, but before, I said on social media that we actually have a huge announcement that we have to make, so I'm very excited. You've all been listening to our bonus episodes over the years, interviews between me and costume designers. And I'm happy to say that we are taking those bonus episodes, and they're not really bonuses anymore. They're just going to be regular episodes because we are announcing a new podcast, which will be dropping about every other week, give and take, called The Costume House with Spencer Williams. It is going to be my own kind of sister podcast to the Art of Costume podcast, where we continue to provide these interviews to you all, just, a little bit with its own spice, its own branding. So you'll still be able to see it on the same channel if you listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or if you go to YouTube, you'll be able to find the Costume House episodes there, maybe in like their own playlist. But very excited. And the first one will drop this week on Thursday. With our first episode is going to be with the Colleen Atwood talking about one of my favorite movies right now, One Battle After Another. Very excited.
So exciting. You do such great interviews, and I'm happy they have their own like little home now.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm very excited too. And it's going to be fun. So, I mean, this way I really feel like we're going to be able to bring more content to you all, because it is hard with our regular season to, we do a lot of interviews and not all of them make it onto the podcast. So this way we could really open it up.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't always be involved because my work schedule, but like...
Our schedules actually hate each other, mine and Elizabeth's.
I even got a new job and I'm like, this still isn't gonna...
So I'm excited. Just more coming. And, there's some more things on the horizon as well, too. So I'm very excited.
Yay!
With that, we have a big episode.
Big episode.
Honestly, if we're being real, we should probably divide this into like a mini series of 3 different episodes, but
maybe one day we'll go season by season and get even more in depth, but for now,
it's not happening.
It's not happening.
So let me just try to give you like a brief summary of Game of Thrones for all of you that don't remember. Game of Thrones was created by showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss.
Yes.
9 noble families fight for control over the lands of Westeros, while an ancient enemy returns after being dormant for millennia. Throughout 8 epic seasons, our characters meet adorable yet hungry dragons, attend many disastrous but lavish weddings, hook up with siblings, fight ice zombies, end slavery, which is pretty cool, worship fire gods, not so cool, and argue over the world's most uncomfortable but also pretty cool throne made out of swords. And that is Game of Thrones.
Kind of.
Which took up about a little over a decade of our life, summed up into 3 sentences.
Yeah. This isn't even coming close to what you will find in Game of Thrones. But, we got some of it in there.
Yeah, we gave it our best shot.
But you know who really gave it their best shot and succeeded, Spencer?
the costume designers of Game of Thrones.
The costume designers. Let's meet our costume designers. We have Michele Clapton, who designed 65 episodes between 2011 and 2019, and April Ferry, who designed 8 episodes in 2016 for season 6. You will know April Ferry's work from Maverick, for which she got an Oscar nomination, Donnie Darko, Terminator 3, Rome, Elysium, and Jurassic World. You will know Michele Clapton from Sense and Sensibility, the TV show, The Crown Season 1, for which she got a BAFTA win, Costume Designer Guild win, and Emmy win, Mamma Mia 2, for which she got a Costume Designer Guild nomination, The Kingsman, and upcoming, The Legend of Zelda.
Yes.
So stoked for that. Also for her work on Game of Thrones, she got 8 Emmy nominations, and won 5.
Yeah. Michele Clapton is a badass. First of all,
Yeah.
I find it amazing that she took a break from Game of Thrones to be like, I'm going to go start this little show called The Crown.
Yes.
Win all the awards and I'll be back. And that's, I mean, I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but on paper, that's what happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She was like, I've done so many seasons of, an incredible show. I just need to slow down, do something smaller.
Yeah. And she came back with all her awards. I'm like, all right, what did I miss? And then also, I just want to say, we thought about reaching out to Michele Clapton. We were going to. That was always a plan. We've been talking about this Game of Thrones episode for about a year now. But then I started talking to people and was hearing how into the work she was on The Legend of Zelda. And I was like, you know what? She's in another country right now working on this massive film. I'm going to leave her be, mostly because we have a copy of Game of Thrones, the costumes, the official book from season 1 to season 8 by Gina McIntyre and Michele Clapton. We decided there really is, she gave us the book.
Yeah.
So
she was like, here's the information you want. I have other things to do.
Right, which I love. I mean, this book is badass. There's so many costume facts in this.
Beautiful.
We're not even going to be able to get through all of it. So we're only going to be going through some of our main characters. But I really suggest everyone goes and checks out this book. I mean, it is so good. Elizabeth and I were laughing. For all the costume nerds out there, it even has centerfolds.
Ooh.
Like you're reading a dirty magazine, which it's just... Damn,
They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. They will take your breath away.
Costume nerd centerfolds. I mean, look at that bodice. Damn,
yes.
So
the metalwork.
It's really good. So with that, like I said, we're gonna everything from this episode is me coming from this book from Michele Clapton's words. And to start us off before we go to break, I was actually going to just read the introduction from Michele Clapton because she really sets the stage pretty quickly here in this book on basically her entire approach to seasons 1 through 8. Here I go.
Story time.
Yeah, story time. I wish we had a little fireplace and Star Dragons. When I first heard that HBO was developing an adaptation of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire novels, I immediately wanted to play a part in bringing a saga to the screen, not realizing that I was about to undertake a journey that would become to encompass nearly a decade of my life. This brawling fantasy with its epic scope and abundance of characters and locales was a costume designer's dream. The creative possibilities seem limitless and a little overwhelming, if I'm being honest. Yet from the start, showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss felt that the series should not feel too fantastical so early on. We decided that there should be a logical reason behind every decision. The costume should make sense within the world and help advance and support the storytelling. It was at this point that I decided color would be our principal language. My initial ideas grew out of those early conversations with David and Dan. I also began rereading the first 2 novels, which provide a rich understanding of the enormity of the world and the characters I'd be costuming. I quickly realized that for me, the show scripts would become the most important roadmap. From the books, we took the sigils and colors for each house, among certain other important details, but really, we were setting out on our own path. Along with the scripts, I found inspiration in the early concept drawings of Winterfell that production designer Gemma Jackson's department had created. Those illustrations give my characters a home and environment. The Starks, the clan whose fortunes were at the heart of the ambitious sprawling series, had to inhabit a castle and dwell within a harsh and rugged northern landscape. Their costumes needed not only to keep them warm, but also communicate their status and relationships to one another, as well as create a sense of community. I immersed myself in research. I began studying how people lived in various climates historically. I looked at how they protected themselves from heat or cold and enemies, which materials and trades were available to them, and which colors of dye they were able to create. I also explored the influence of religion on clothing, along with ancient ideas about beauty and accessories and the uses of applique and embroidery. I looked at clothing from cultures around the world over many centuries: Japanese, Flemish, Siberian, Afghan, Iranian, Persian, and Native American, to name a few. When searching for inspiration for armor, I focus on Renaissance, Byzantine, samurai, ancient Roman, and ancient Greek designs. I studied folk culture and tribal mythology. I collected imagery at museums, online, in books, anywhere I could find it. I was a magpie, taking relevant elements from all this research and putting them together to create a new look that would feel wholly unique to the show. Nothing could look like it came from one specific historic era. As I proceeded, my assistants joined me in research, and we collated our ideas. We began to amass all of our reference imagery into mood boards for each area in Westeros and beyond. In this way, I began to define the looks of the Starks and other major houses, the Lannisters, the Targaryens, and Baratheons, as well as the Dothraki, and the men who made up the Night's Watch. Each needed to have a look, color, and silhouette that would speak to their regional identity, but the characters also had to be recognizable as individuals. I thought about their inner natures, their histories and ambitions, their values, their morals. All would serve as an influence on costume. When designing, I always try to reflect the situations in which the protagonists find themselves, just as we dress appropriately for each occasion in our lives. So should they. If a war were coming, we would armor ourselves. If we want to show pride or allegiance to the cause, family, or country, we would express this through colors or symbols. As I mentioned previously, color is incredibly important on Game of Thrones. I decided early on to use fabrics that we would, for the most part, dye ourselves. This way, we would have complete control over the color palette. We then create a color Bible for each location in the show. Color is really my passion. It can tell you so much about a character. And that is the introduction by Michele Clapton. You can see why Michele Clapton did not actually have to be here for her to physically.
Yeah. She she put everything we all wanted to know in this beautiful book.
It's beautiful, and her language is actually quite revealing. So as you can see, she really set the stage, and we're going to talk about again and again, but color, symbols, fabrics, it's everything to her, and it really speaks to the evolution of these characters. So I'm excited to get into it.
Me
after
too.
this break. We're going to go through the three main houses: Starks, Lannisters, and Targaryens. And then we'll do a couple honorable mentions to some of our favorite characters that we, maybe don't want to read a whole bunch about, but still want to talk about. I feel like we'll have to talk about our thoughts and feelings about the series, which I know Elizabeth and I have quite a few.
Yes.
So we have a lot to get into. So let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to start in Winterfell.
I'll meet you there.
Right.
I have to grab my coat, though.
Yeah, it's a bit chilly.
Hi, I'm Dan, who does all the magic behind the scenes. I wanted to say thank you, and if you want to support the show even farther, go to tpublic.com/user/theartofcostume, where you can buy a couple variations of our logo on t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. Also, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and if you're an audio listener, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Now, back to the show.
Are you ready to head to the north?
I'm always ready to head to the north. I mean, I remember watching the show, and every time we were in Winterfell, it just felt like a nice homecoming until some questionable characters took advantage of it. But
especially that first episode, because it's like the Starks have just such a nice, family vibe about them. They're like, oh, look at us all here and happy.
Yeah, and you can tell that they all have like a real love for each other
Yeah.
too. Before we get into some of the characters in the North, we do have a quote from Michele Clapton just talking about her approach to Winterfell and the Starks and the North. She says, "As the Starks are the preeminent house of the northern lands and rule over the region, it was important to me to distinguish them from the other families of the North. Although I want to elevate them, it wasn't my intention for them to appear superior. This is not in their character. I chose to have them stand apart through color. The other people of the North wear mostly shades of brown. The Starks, however, have added shades of blue." So you kind of see that in that very first
You
episode.
do.
It's a very blue tone.
Very blue tone. Very like an icy blue, not like a sky blue.
Mm-hmm.
Not an ocean blue, but like that very light, icy blue, which also really makes them distinct from just every other family in the realm.
Yeah.
Like everyone else, I feel like has very bright colors or very strong colors. The Starks are very subtle, but the Starks are also very subtle people. They're really not trying to do anything.
Yeah.
They honestly just keep getting stuck at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah. And it feels like the Starks are like there to like take advantage of the land. And also, as Michele said, they're constantly trying to stay warm, which is why you see a lot of use of furs and whatnot. We have Ned Stark, who, we're not going to get into too much, but he's just like is a picture of like the perfect northern man that everyone wants to be and will continue to try to emulate throughout the rest of this season.
The perfect warden of the North.
Yeah, I still cannot believe that first season when he died. Like that really just like took the nation, the world by storm.
Like everyone was loving the first season, and then when that happens, I think that's what cemented. Yeah. Okay, this is going to be a long-running, successful show.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. So let's get to some of our Stark characters. We have two in particular that we want to bring up. The first one being Sansa Stark, played by the great Sophie Turner.
Sansa.
A complicated character. I actually am kind of a Sansa apologist.
You are a little bit.
I just feel like it was she starts off a little bit of a brat, but the things she goes through leads to some decisions that I feel are warranted, and I support her rise to being the Queen of the North.
I like her. I think her character development makes a lot of sense because especially when she comes to the capital, because it's like she was kind of raised isolated from the rest of society, really. Like in the North, they're really a society unto themselves, but she knows she's going to get married off to some other family, most likely in the South.
Yeah, and
she's excited to join the greater society of Westeros.
Yeah, she was very much raised in the image of her mother, Catelyn Stark, being like, you are going to learn how to embroider and you're going to get married off. And she's actually okay with it.
She's looking forward to it, especially because she doesn't realize her parents' good marriage is rare,
a bit and a bit complicated too.
Yeah.
Michele Clapton says of Sansa, the eldest daughter of the Stark family, Sansa starts out as a naive girl who desperately wants to be queen, but her romantic illusions are shattered once she leaves Winterfell to travel to the capital of the Seven Kingdoms, King's Landing. There she finds herself manipulated and victimized by the cruel Joffrey Baratheon, who soon goes from prince to king, and his mother, Cersei, who belongs to the powerful Lannister family. Sansa is hardened by these experiences, and as she grows older, she also grows shrewder. Hardship transforms her into a self-possessed young woman who eventually returns to claim her rightful title as the Lady of Winterfell before later being crowned the Queen in the North.
Yes.
So that really is her entire arc right there.
And she very much, even in her style gowns from the North, at the beginning, she's really borrowing from the South.
Yeah.
Like the long sleeve, the long gown, like it's all very Southern at first, but then she slowly over time kind of like redevelops the look of her family, the look of being a Stark, and gets back to that like that Stark black and fur that her father wore, all her brothers wore, and she's like, okay, like it's time to be who I am, which is a Stark.
Yeah, I mean, she's forced to when she gets to King's Landing. I love some of those early, clothes where she's wearing the bright pinks and kind of the
and
Lannister
she's so
reds.
excited.
She starts excited, but then you just see like it really like she starts to feel drained of it all. And then, after some of the horrible things she goes through, she goes into this stage called the Dark Sansa.
Yeah.
And she totally goes, I mean, she becomes a goth queen, honestly.
And she's also like in hiding on the run.
In hiding. And it all leads up to, after that horrible wedding to Ramsay Bolton, which I have to say the wedding dress is kind of cool.
The wedding dress is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, but also sad. And you're right, though. It all leads to like this reclaiming her heritage, which is like what leads her, but that kind of is what strives her throughout this entire series, is like reclaiming her home, reclaiming who she was meant to be, even if it's a little different, but she appreciates both sides of what her father gave to her, what her brother Rob gave to her, what her mother gave to her. She just feels like it is her legacy to make them proud in ways. So that's how she reclaims her identity. And I think nothing is more strong of an image than that coronation gown that we see. I remember seeing this costume and just being like, damn, that's a costume.
Michele Clapton ate with that last
season. It's good. Even people that didn't like Sansa were like, yeah, she ate with that. So Michele Clapton talked a lot about the coronation dress, and I just kind of pulled out a lot of the main points because there's so much in this coronation dress. This is the genius of a costume designer who, even if stuff you all don't see, it's there to really just add to the storytelling, and nothing speaks to it more than this dress. Michele said, for her coronation, I gave her a costume that featured imagery referencing the events of her life. We're not just talking about like a season. We're talking about from season 1 to season 8 is all in this coronation gown. So here's the summary. The coronation gown, parts of it are made from the dark Sansa fabric, commemorating the first time she fought for herself, and a visual link to Margaery Tyrell as well, incorporating some of those same like textures that were used in Margaery's clothing, which we'll talk about later. The gown has a full skirt made from many panels in the style of Catelyn Stark. There's an asymmetrical cloak, same shape as Arya, out of respect to her sister. The cloak attached to the neck pad is similar to her father, Ned. The neck pad is embroidered to give it a fur-like texture seen on the direwolf sigil, a nod to Sansa's brothers. The fur-like embroidery travels down her sleeves and transforms into the Tully fish scales as a tribute to her mother's house. It's beaded and embroidered with red leaves inspired by Winterfell's weirwood tree. The other end of the pad is finished with a beaded wolf's head to represent Lady, her direwolf, which was, murdered per Cersei's wishes, which, one of her low points. There's a cascade of black feathers as another nod to Dark Sansa. And the crown shows two direwolves supporting each other and is also a special tribute to Robb, her brother, who was killed at the Red Wedding. That is all in one costume, everybody.
And I really like that because it also takes from historically how royals built symbolism into their clothing over so many centuries. I think the most recent example of that most people will know will be Elizabeth II's wedding gown. Lots of symbolism built into it. And for centuries, that's what royal women did to convey messages without speaking, because a lot of times they couldn't. But here, she's like, okay, this is who I am, people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminds me of like a piece of art or like cave paintings or something, just showing the progression of time and history all involved in this one coronation gown. It's really beautiful. It has to be one of your like one costumes to rule them all, it's incredible. Another character I'm excited to talk about is of course Arya Stark, who has one of my favorite arcs in this series, because she starts as this young girl who just, looks up to her brothers, loves to practice with her sword and fight. She gets needle for the first time. She's a tomboy, and she loves being around her brothers, and her father couldn't be more different than her sister Sansa. And she goes on this arc that is just heartbreaking for so long, but to me pays off in the end. We also have that time in her life where she's in disguise, and we have that great oysters, clams, and cockles part, which I
especially because it's so not Arya. She's got like the little like buns in the front and the skirt. I think that's the last time you ever see her in anything resembling a dress.
It's so good. Michele Clapton talks about Arya quite a bit. She says, the younger Stark daughter is a born rebel with no interest in sewing or marrying well. She longs for the life of adventure, typically reserved for men. Her most prized possession is her sword, a needle, gifted to her by Jon Snow. Her proclivity for fighting saves her life early on and helps her set on a path toward realizing her dream of becoming a full-fledged warrior. From the moment Arya first appears on screen, she's very clearly the antithesis of her sister Sansa. Arya is a strong-minded girl who idolizes her brothers, and that's reflected in her costumes. After many dramatic sequences in this series, Arya is greatly changed, but her aversion to traditional feminine styles is not. Back in her ancestral home after many years, she adopts a look similar to that of the Winterfell men. Her instinct is to dress like her brothers and her father, so I designed a look for her that paired a quilted jacket with a long skirt augmented by needle hanging from her belt. Her colors are traditionally Stark, warm blue, gray, and brown. After so many years living on the run and suppressing her identity as a faceless man, she is finally able to proudly proclaim her heritage again. Another through line of like trying to get back to your heritage.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Especially like at the beginning, it's so sad because it's like her dad dies just when he's like accepting who she is and like helping her, kind of be like, okay, it's okay to be who you are. Because he very much tries to be like, she's a noble lady. She's going to have to marry and do all this. And then he's like, you know what? Here, have a sword instructor.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
We're going to put this off as long as possible. Because at the end of the day, I feel like Ned Stark was kind of progressive in that sense where, the Stark family is very old, and he wanted to break tradition where he could. He didn't always, there's that moment where they have to like, the man who deals the law or whatever must wield the sword or something. Yeah. I'm butchering that, but
the man who passes the sentence should wield the sword.
There you go, Elizabeth. I can't remember what happened yesterday, but Elizabeth will remember that quote.
Neither can I, but I remember that
down to a T. So there's a lot of love for Arya from Ned, and Arya takes that personally, and you see it through her costume. She just really loses herself after her father passes, and she's on the run, disguised as a little boy. And by the time we get to the end of the series, you could really just tell that she just feels proud of who she's become after all these years, and knows that her family would be proud of her even if they're not there.
Especially because, like, even when she's in the House of Black and White, like, they literally try to strip her identity from her. Like, literally try to make her nobody, and she's like, no, I am a Stark.
The costumes of Game of Thrones really are about identity through color, through sigil, through fabric and texture, especially
for these people.
Oof. We're getting ready to talk about my favorite house, House Lannister.
Lannisters, yes.
I've always loved the Lannisters, especially my favorite character unapologetically is Cersei Lannister. I've been dealing with the repercussions of that for a majority of my adult life. And guess what? It's not changing.
It's not. It's not.
But let's just talk about the Lannisters as a whole. Michele Clapton said, for most of the series, Westeros is ruled by the Lannisters, the preeminent house of the South and one of the wealthiest and oldest dynasties in the Seven Kingdoms. Calculating and ruthless, they are always mindful of what message their clothing sends to those around them.
Yes.
The Lannisters wear their wealth on their sleeves, projecting an image of authority and power that also serves to remind others of their vast fortune. For their costumes, I drew inspiration from the House Sigil, a gold lion on a field of red. That design dictated my color choices, inspired much of the adornment on the costumes as well. I decided that the Lannisters, especially the head of the house, Tywin Lannister, would never miss an opportunity to incorporate their sigil into their clothing. They are proud, like lions. You know, I gotta say, well, who, after many years, what their like costume reminds me of. It's very much like they're proud. They have to have the lion on fucking everything.
Yes.
It's very like Make America Great Again red, you know, like
yeah.
they just,
oh my
it has to just be on everything. And it's like, we get it. You're a Lannister. We know.
Yeah.
You know, you have the world's biggest gown. I'll include a picture of Tywin Lannister coming in on a horse. And he has like this huge, like
lion,
red Gone with the Wind curtain hanging over him.
Yes.
It's like, we get it. You're a
all
Lannister.
The gold. We're like, we get it. You own the gold mines.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're proud. We know. We get it. You don't have to tell us. You know? But for that, that's also why I love them too. They're just unapologetically, they're gonna have that shit on.
They are. They absolutely are.
And no character speaks to that more than Cersei Lannister, played by the great Lena Headey. I still will never forgive the Television Academy for not granting this woman an Emmy win.
I know.
She
deserved it.
She deserved it, whether you hate her or not. She just always was on top of it. I'm going to start getting emotional talking about Cersei Lannister. Yeah. She was the best, okay?
Well, you got me excited there for a second.
I'm telling you.
She was great, but she was also so evil.
So evil, but like... All right, I don't get it.
Unnecessarily evil. Yeah, she was unnecessarily evil. That's the point.
It's true. It's true. But, you know, I love an evil woman.
You do.
So she also, to me, has one of the most fun arcs, though. I mean, we start when we see her when she arrives to Winterfell. Just like, you could tell she's just physically uncomfortable with what she's wearing. This is not who she wants to be. You know, like we said, the Lannisters love to have that red and the lion everywhere, and she's stripped of that.
And until her husband dies, she's pretty much out of the red. She's like wearing just anything but his colors, but she's also like, well, I can't wear the Lannister red. So yeah, she's so uncomfortable in those. She's like
episodes. His property, honestly.
She is his property.
Well, yeah. Okay.
That's kind of the point, Spencer.
Cersei is Robert Baratheon's property, and which, by the way, Robert Baratheon sucks. So
he's the worst.
So that's why I get where she's coming from at moments in this show.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. She handles things in a way that I would say maybe we should just seek therapy first.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. So
and because from everything, it sounds like she went into that marriage being like, okay, like I'm marrying the king. All right. And then he was just such a jackass. She was like, okay, I guess I'll be evil then.
yeah, which I get it. So Michele Clapton, obviously, I mean, there's the whole center half of this book is dedicated to Cersei, essentially, because there could be a museum of Cersei and Daenerys' costumes. Honestly, they could fill an entire museum themselves. So Michele says, at the beginning of Cersei's story, I used soft fabrics and softer colors for her costumes. Her early gowns, such as the one she wears to accompany Robert to Winterfell in the first episode, were all made from paper silk, but they were lined with metallic fabric. I like the idea that the paper silk is so feminine and insubstantial, but underneath, Cersei is armored. To the outside world, she appears to be soft and very traditionally feminine with the long flowing blonde hair. In reality, she's a sleeping lioness who is preparing for a coming battle.
Yes.
I thought that was a cool quote. I was like, she knows that her time will be here one day.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think she expects it to be as dramatic as it is. I think she really expected okay, we're going to knock off Robert and Joffrey's going to be king and everything's going to be okay. Yeah. She definitely wasn't expecting the Game of Thrones.
yeah. At least she wasn't expected the way it goes the way it goes.
Yeah, but she is prepared to protect her family.
Yeah. So once Robert dies, you see Cersei really, once she becomes the queen regent, She goes directly to that red, which I love. She feels very comfortable. This is who she's meant to be. But then as the King's situation and King's Landing starts to change a lot. Characters, die and choke on poison and whatnot.
Yeah.
Then Margaery comes into the picture, and you can see that her red color starts to get like a little bit more faded once she's like mother of the king. It starts to feel a little bit more faded. Like she's there, but she feels herself kind of like slipping out of power in a way that she does not like, which leads to another real sense of identity loss once she becomes captive to this very kooky
religious sect.
Cult of King's Landing, which I will never forgive her son and Margaery for letting her end up in this situation. But she's, literally, you all saw the episode, stripped to nothing. She's wearing essentially a sack at one point.
Yeah.
And you could just tell she's been stripped of her identity, and that might be the most crushing thing of all to Cersei, because she is a proud Lannister.
She is. And she's just like a proud lady, and it's like that's not something in their society that should have been accepted.
Yeah, totally. Which leads to one of my favorite episodes of all time. This is one of my favorite TV episodes, period. It is when Cersei takes care of business in one
That's one word
fell
for
swoop.
it.
Yeah, where she blows up the sept with everyone in it. Which leads to her son also jumping out a window.
Unintended consequences.
Yeah, whatever. We pick our wins.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, it's one of my favorite costumes. And Cersei puts on like that all black, and with the armor and the shoulder pauldrons, it just looks so cool. Michele Clapton obviously talked about this costume quite a bit. She says, Cersei starts to dress solely in black and cover her body completely, wearing long sleeves and high collars. This is a common trend amongst all the women who became powerful in Westeros. As their stories progress, they tend toward darker colors, a more conservative attire. We'll see that when we talked about Sansa, but also Daenerys. In Cersei's case, she's also in a nearly perpetual state of mourning in this series, which is so true. Moving on to the coronation gown, she says, the coronation gown was made from black leather and silk brocade with military style epaulets that project strength. It's not red and gold because it was death that led her to the throne, and she understands that. This is not a celebratory occasion, but a solemn one, and black was the only possible color for the costume. The gown is neither masculine nor feminine. It's cold and emotionless. Also works well with her cropped hair. I want her silver and gold crown to be an abstract recreation of the house sigil, so I designed a piece that simplified the Lannister lion sigil to just a few elegant strokes. The gown was designed to channel the style of Cersei's father, Tywin. They always had a difficult relationship. I think Cersei admired Tywin and probably loved him, but she also despised him. He refused to see that she is intelligent and capable. He dismissed her as his true heir simply because she is a woman. And choosing to wear something linked to him, she is simultaneously honoring him and mocking him at the moment when she achieves the highest station possible in the Seven Kingdoms.
Yes.
That end like gave me chills.
Yes.
She was like, love you, Dad, but fuck you.
Because it's true. Like, Tywin's such an ass. Like,
it's true. Like, looking at the three siblings, I love Tyrion, I love Jaime, but Cersei was the one most capable of making this thing, taking it from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I just also want to bring up another costume that we see of Cersei's in the last season when she's kind of starting to meet everybody.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this threat that's coming to the north. And we see Cersei show up in this like all metallic, almost looks like chainmail.
Yeah.
And seeing the back texture, you almost like see the spine. And I love that costume.
Yeah.
It's so kind of spooky because it just feels like she's so dead on the inside.
Because she is.
And Michele Clapton totally agrees. She says, when she wore that coat over the metal dress, we realized it created a strange optical illusion. If you look at the detailing on the back too long, it seems as though you're peering directly into Cersei through her rib cage and seeing only blackness there.
Oh, you know what it reminds me of? Like TV static.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just nothing there.
Nothing's happening.
Nothing Earth to Cersei, nothing there.
Nothing.
She's just full on rage at this point.
She is. I love that scene because she's just like, who are all of you people?
Who are you? And I think if I remember correctly, the rage was also seeing her brother Tyrion.
Oh yeah, and him just being like, "Girl, please, just like,
please kill
listen
that
for
man.
2 seconds."
Yeah, just straight fuming, which leads us to talk about the great Tyrion Lannister, played by Peter Dinklage, which is one of my most favorite characters in this series.
One of the best characters ever.
Because he's just consistently cool and has a level head about things. Sure, he has his like failed moments, but for the most part, if we all listened to Tyrion, we would have been in a better place.
Absolutely. And he like always steps up, like in the beginning, and I think through the whole thing, he doesn't care. He just wants to live his life. Yeah. He's one of the many characters that doesn't actually care. He doesn't want power. He doesn't want the throne. He just wants to live his life and not be shit on by his family.
Right.
But he steps up every time he has to and is like responsible and does his best to make good decisions.
Yeah. He just wants to be seen as an equal. Really,
yes.
Which is what Daenerys does to him, which I feel like leads to like a lot of the character growth.
Absolutely.
But the Lannisters could not care less about Tyrion. Jaime a little bit to a point.
Jaime does care, but I think he's afraid to care as much as he wants to because he was afraid of his father's opinion. And Cersei's opinion.
His sister too.
Yeah. Well,
so.
He's sleeping with his sister.
And she's not too happy about Tyrion.
No, she's not.
Michele Clapton talked about Tyrion in her book. When we're first introduced to the youngest Lannister sibling, he's an unapologetic reprobate who spends a great deal of time in brothels. But he's also gifted with a remarkable intellect and innate charm that helped him survive in a dangerous world. Despite these qualities, Tyrion is viewed with contempt by his father and sister, who believes he brings shame on their noble house. As a Lannister, Tyrion has the resources to pay for well-made clothing, so his costumes are made from fine materials. Red is a dominant color in his wardrobe, but over time his allegiances shift. After unimaginable treachery, he becomes estranged from his family and leaves behind the house, swearing fealty to a new house and serving a conquering queen. So that essentially is his costumes in a nutshell. You see, he still is a Lannister, so he's still gonna look good. He's still dressed up.
He likes nice things.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's like, I got the money.
Yeah,
he's not.
like,
I'm not
not
mad at the money. I'm mad that you guys don't see me as equal.
Yeah.
But then he runs away to Essos, and you do kind of see him put away the red as part of because that would reveal who he is, and he kind of becomes more earth tones until he meets Daenerys, and then he just goes full black.
Full Targaryen black, which quite frankly, those are his best fits.
Oh yeah.
Like season 1, you're like, okay, dude, like get over yourself a little bit.
Season 1, he looks like an early 2000s
frat boy.
Yeah. He was giving like Scooby-Doo and I go to Mrs. Spooky Island. Like it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But when you see him in that end season, which is funny, kind of I feel like you could see the wear of Game of Thrones on Peter Dinklage in that last season. He just looks tired.
I will say, I liked how they let people age in this series because it's extreme stress in these situations, even over a couple of years, will do that to you because they do the same thing with Jaime.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, like, some of these characters like Jaime, like Tyrion, they're holding, like, the world on their shoulders. It feels like and you could see it. Their costumes might be good, but they're also still a little tattered in ways and you could just see like the gray.
Everyone's so tired by the end of this series.
All the people that don't really seem to really care about being on a throne or not, those are the ones that seem to have the most weight on their shoulders. Might I add, it's not Cersei whoever looks tired, it's not Daenerys whoever looks tired. Sansa maybe, but that's a whole other podcast.
Sansa grows up. She grows because she's a young teenager at the beginning. As well as
Daenerys Targaryen.
Our queen, Daenerys.
Oh, I love Emilia Clarke as Daenerys Targaryen.
So good.
There's just something about seeing a picture of young Dany. You're just like, wow, what a life that we've lived.
I know.
I remember being young and seeing baby Dany and be like, oh.
Poor girl.
She's
Poor
beautiful.
Girl. Talk about someone who makes the best out of a bad situation, though.
yeah, that's one way to put it. I love talking about the Targaryens just because they really control like the pace of this show. I mean, now we have the spin-off as well, House of the Dragon, which I love. The Targaryens are just an interesting character study through and through.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say about the Targaryens, but I'll try to simplify it. The Targaryens ruled over the Seven Kingdoms for centuries, but when Game of Thrones opens, their dynasty has come to an end, says Michele Clapton. The surviving children of the deposed Mad King Aerys Targaryen, Viserys, and Daenerys are living in exile, having been ferried to the eastern city of Pentos by loyalists hoping to see the family restored to the Iron Throne. When I began to design costumes for House Targaryen, I actually used Viserys as a starting point, even though he's destined to be only a minor player. While Daenerys would become a central figure in a story, I want to emphasize the Targaryens' regal lineage as well as their fierce, unyielding nature and unquenchable thirst for power. The House Sigil, a red dragon with 3 heads on a black field, became the most important inspiration for the looks I developed. And I think that's true, almost the same as how we were talking about the Lannisters.
Yeah.
The Targaryens are also very proud people who will put the sigil on everything. And if you all see House of Dragon as well, like it's the same there. Like we always got to have the red and the black and the dragon, which makes them different to the Starks, who actually couldn't care less sometimes. You know?
Except for at the beginning, like they're at the mercy of their host. They're at the mercy of whoever is bankrolling them. And I love how they only have a couple of like Targaryen pins. It's almost like, okay, we have like 5-6 pieces of Targaryen jewelry that we have to split between the two of us and use very sparingly.
And it's almost like that Targaryen pin is like a bullseye too.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's like you can't wear this in public.
No, no, they have to be very careful who they tell who they are.
Yeah.
Well, their hair kind of gives them away too.
Yeah, well, that too. It is beautiful hair.
I love Daenerys over the season because like at first she very much just like melds into whatever city culture she's currently residing in.
Yeah, I mean, no one has a bigger arc than Daenerys Targaryen, which, you know, to some people's displeasure, as we'll talk about toward the end of this episode. But Daenerys goes through it. Michele Clapton said, Daenerys' dramatic evolution from powerless outcast to fearsome tyrant is one of the most radical transformations in all of Game of Thrones, and I knew it is vitally important for her costumes to signal each stage of her journey. When we first meet Daenerys, she's a beautiful young girl who is completely under the control of her abusive older brother. It's nearly impossible to imagine the woman she will become. Viserys wants to marry her to anyone who might help him take the Iron Throne. In his eyes, her only value is her body, and he dresses her accordingly. I based Daenerys' first dress on a style I created for King's Landing that would be worn by all manner of characters, from market traders to handmaidens and prostitutes. Daenerys' second dress is completely transparent and held at the shoulder with dragon head brooches to represent House Targaryen. This viewing dress was designed to make her appear essentially naked. She's a commodity being offered to the Dothraki warlord Khal Drogo in exchange for his armies.
Yes.
So, I mean, that really speaks to the beginning of Daenerys. She is a commodity. You know, she's just a high value piece of jewelry almost.
Absolutely. And I love, like, as a character, she's mentally checked out for the first like half of the season. In the beginning, she's just like just going through the motions because that's all she knows what to do.
Literally,
like because her opinion has no value to the people around her, so she's not going to give it. It's just going to make her brother mad and make him hurt her. So
Viserys sucked.
Yeah, she like the way she is so mentally checked out. Until she gets a little bit of freedom with the Dothraki, which is crazy because they are so patriarchal. Like,
it's incredible the way that her story really turns out. So as we start to get into, you know, Essos and Meereen, you kind of start to see her, you know, like you said, she really acclimates to the world that she's in. Until she's on her way to Westeros, that's when we really start to see the evolution take hold. Michele says Daenerys' time in Meereen ends when she is nearly assassinated by Damask insurgents known as the Sons of the Harpy. She escapes on her dragon, Drogon, and eventually forms alliances that gives her fleet she needs to carry her armies to the Seven Kingdoms to pursue the Iron Throne. The gown she wears as she sails to Westeros marks another major step in her personal evolution. During her conquest of Slaver's Bay, she has shown that she can be calculating and vengeful in dealing with those who dare to cross her. So her costumes become much darker in color to reflect the growing darkness inside her. I also want to begin to subtly move her closer to wearing the black and red of House Targaryen. So I say that quote because I know we're going to come back to it when we talk about how the show ended.
Yes.
But it was there all along is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was there all along. And I love like these seasons where she's like going from city to city. I feel like Michele really builds up the structured style and then slowly over time adds those Targaryen elements. And yeah, like one of the things that is so beautiful in this show is the 3D embroidery. And like it looks so beautiful on that dress as she's crossing over. And then once she's on Dragonstone, the fucking metalwork.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like the scaled capes, like the shoulder, like everything just very beautifully flows into her, again, reclaiming her identity.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the use of scale throughout, the whole history of Daenerys Targaryen. Michele Clapton says about Daenerys, when Daenerys arrives in Westeros, she lands at the former Targaryen castle, Dragonstone. For this sequence, I designed a fur-lined overcoat for her in an even darker gray that verges on black. The fabric I chose was patterned silk that has an interesting herringbone effect. In a certain light, it looks like dragon scales. I added a red pleated paper silk drape at the shoulder, which is held in place by a silver dragon brooch and a chain that crosses her chest to denote status. I felt that she needed a weighty, symbolic piece of jewelry that shows her strength and intent, and wanted to use a 3-dragon sigil in the design of the chain. Now leading a vast army of the Unsullied soldiers and Dothraki warriors, she needs to look like a military commander.
Having that, nothing will get in my path attitude, conquering for conquering's sake, like that is very much what she is about to the journey she's about to embark on.
Conquering's sake is what she's really into at this point, which we'll see. There's one costume I wanted to point out, well, we both did, is when she puts on that very interesting white coat dress thing toward the end of the series, which I remember seeing it for the first time and be like, that is incredible. Like I've never seen anything like that.
No.
And I saw it in person too, I believe at the Finna Museum, and I just was like, it
takes your breath away. It's so intricate, and I'm just like, where did she get this fabric made? Did she source it? Where do you source something like this?
Well, let's talk about it, Michele. So Michele Clapton says, after Daenerys meets Jon Snow, she briefly sets aside her relentless quest for the throne and is drawn into the fight to save the living from an impending attack by the Night King and his forces. When Jon becomes trapped beyond the wall, she flies to his rescue, a selfless act that cost her one of her beloved dragons. Spoiler alert. I want her to have a dramatic look for the sequence, so I dressed her in a white striped fur coat, which became one of her signature costumes. I chose white because it denotes purity, and her motivations for coming to Jon's aids are quite pure. Yeah. She's fallen in love with him. The silhouette of the coat also felt romantic to me. It's something she'd wear because she wants to be noticed, but it's also practical in the sense that it keeps her warm. Still, I always thought that there was something insidious about the patterning on the sleeves. It reminded me slightly of the White Walkers, and perhaps signifies that Daenerys can be just as cold and formidable as the Night King and his lieutenants. In the series' final season, Daenerys wears the white striped fur coat once more, but there's a great deal of blood red showing through beneath the white. An ominous harbinger of the blood she will spill in pursuit of the throne. Kind of freaky. Because you do notice it. Like, suddenly you'd start to see red in that coat. That wasn't there before.
No. And I remember, like, looking up on the internet as the episodes were just being like, wait, are these the same coat? Are these? I remember being very confused at first because I was like, wait, did they do two almost exactly the same? Like what? But no, like it's the same. It's just
you start to see the
it's
red
so
through it. And to answer your earlier question, the coat is made from a fabric that we created by mounting strips of leather and fur onto a canvas backing. We use a short pile of white fur near the top of the coat and longer pile of fur near the bottom. I want the coat to have a strong hourglass silhouette, so I made the shoulders wider to help emphasize Emilia's small waist. So, yeah, it's a very intricate costume.
Yeah. I wish they had, like, shown her progression into madness a little bit more, but also, like, on reflection, it makes sense because she, throughout the whole series, she really sees herself as a victim of other people's ambition. And, you know, it reflects the time period of, you know, when royalty believed, you know, and all costs were justified when trying to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. And when she goes crazy, it's just like, girl, what? But it's like, yeah, that was always there. Like, she honestly, any sane person, anyone who really cared about other people would have sat back, thought about this whole situation and been like, you know what? I'm just going to let Westeros do what it's going to do. Like, so many more people end up dying because of her quest for the throne than need to.
Yeah, and we'll get into this when we talk about the ending of the show and once we finish all of our characters. But I always take issue when people say like, oh, I didn't like the final season. Daenerys would never have did what she did. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Like, Daenerys's quest for the Iron Throne is selfish.
Yeah.
And she does it at the sake of a lot of lives.
Yes.
And should she have just been like, especially after watching the show House of the Dragon, you're like, oh, the Targaryens had their time and they actually didn't do a great job with it anyways.
They fucked it up.
So maybe we could let someone else give it a go.
I'm like, she should have stopped at Essos in Slaver's Bay.
Yeah, because she had a good, sure, everyone was trying to kill her, but like, she had a good thing going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was always there. I just think that final season rushed it in a way that felt abrupt to people.
Yes.
But if you actually sit back and look at her progression, this was always the direction she was going.
Yeah.
It just, that final lap in the race just suddenly we were on turbo speed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's like, especially when she kills Sam's brother and dad, like, that was unnecessary.
Right. yeah, it's pretty rough. All right, so let's actually go away from our main houses. We're going to get
going back to the north.
Back to the north, to the wall, and some of our other characters that are crossing over it. Yes. Michele Clapton said, the towering structure known as the Wall has stood for eons, protecting the Seven Kingdoms from the vast, untamed reaches beyond. Only the strongest can survive in this northernmost section of Westeros, a treacherous world of snow and ice where punishing winds blow across the Arctic terrain. To design looks for the characters living in this extreme environment, I researched the types of clothing worn in some of the coldest locations on Earth, such as northern Alaska and Siberia. I chose to use leather, fur, and animal pelts for the costumes because those materials would offer the best protection from the elements. In fact, they likely would have been the only materials available to people living in the region.
Yeah.
So she really approached the north of the Wall with utmost realism.
Yes.
But this also leads us to one of our favorite behind the costume facts. Honestly, this is the behind the costume fact that might have created the Art of Costume podcast because to me, you know, I don't want to say before the Art of Costume podcast, but like costume design was not talked in a way that gave real credit to costume designers until I feel like Game of Thrones really was like a spoke in the wheel that really got the wheel going.
Yeah.
At this time, 2011, when it came to when the world realized that a lot of the capes for the Night's Watch were made out of IKEA rugs. Like, I remember this
one
headline.
Of my favorite facts ever.
And it blew up. Like,
it blew up so much. I remember, like, I think I got, like, was like on a news app, and it was like art section, IKEA rugs used in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, like it was crazy. Like people couldn't believe and didn't understand. And suddenly Michele Clapton is like in the headlines. Like just this didn't really happen for costume designers that much. Sure, I mean you could look back and find interviews of Sandy Powell's and calling that was, but for a TV show like Game of Thrones to be talked about costume wise the way it did was something unique.
Before this, you had to be like an Oscar nominated film to get people to care.
Right. So we actually have a quote from Architectural Digest was talking about Game of Thrones. Michele Clapton said, "These capes are actually IKEA rugs. We take anything we can," Clapton added with a chuckle as she described the progress. "We cut and we shaved the rugs, and then we added strong leather straps. I want the audience to almost smell the costume." That quote set the world on fire, and suddenly she was asked about it again and again. And if we were around, I would have asked too.
Yeah. This is why there's a book about all of her work.
Which actually, hilarious enough, I don't think the word IKEA is used in this book once. That's why we had to go to Architectural Digest.
I would not be shocked if she got tired of talking about it.
Please stop talking about IKEA. So a character that we felt like didn't really belong to any such house and maybe aligns mostly with the North was none other than Jon Snow, played by Kit Harington, or some of you might know him as Aegon Targaryen if you really want to get into it.
The black sheep of Westeros.
Literally, and oftentimes is dressed like a sheep if you want to get into it. Oh, hey, that's a good one, Elizabeth. I never thought of it like that. Michele Clapton says Jon Snow grows up in Winterfell as the illegitimate son of Ned Stark, unaware of his true-born identity. Jon's storyline takes him from Winterfell to the Wall and far beyond. He's a character who is very much a product of his extremely cold environment. I felt he'd be at home in dark colors and leather and fur, organic materials that would help make him become one with the landscape. When I designed Jon's first costume, I wanted him to look like the unloved son. Thanks to Ned's wife, Catelyn. When Jon arrives at Dragonstone, we see him in a new war-ready costume. I gave him a brown quilted doublet, as well as studded leather and metal plate armor that includes a silver gorget prominently decorated with 2 Stark direwolves facing one another. I did create one different look for him to wear when he journeys north of the Wall on a mission to bring back one of the Night King's soldiers. It's a practical coat based on a costume that I designed for Mance Rayder, whom Jon actually admired. But for the most part, he is almost exclusively wears the Stark influence armor in the show's final seasons. I thought it'd be interesting to see Jon so clearly embracing the Stark house sigil at the same time as he learns the truth about his own heritage, that he's actually Aegon Targaryen, the rightful heir to the throne. Again, comes to confused identity. Wants to go back to like, I miss my dad, and mom, ? I'm a Stark through and through, but at the end of the day, he kind of knows he's not.
Yeah, he misses his dad and his siblings, and and I'm also like, I wish Catelyn had survived long enough to know that her husband didn't cheat on her. He was just trying to protect the last piece he had of his sister.
Yeah.
The way she would have begged for Jon's forgiveness.
Oh, yeah. She would have been distraught. And you're right. It does, to this day, kind of haunt me. Game of Thrones does a lot of things that haunts you. You're like, if only.
If only.
Ugh, gosh. Well, so Jon Snow just really, as Michele Clapton kind of says, really sticks to his night watch. And then once he gets to the north, he's like, all right, well, I'll put this back on. Actually look like a respectable member of my family, which he never was until they're all gone and dead.
And they're like, well, you're king now, I guess.
One last character I want to bring up officially from Michele Clapton was actually the Night King and the White Walkers, which to me was one of my favorite elements of the show. I'll never forget the episode Hard Home when we get to see all the whites for the first time. That Barry Gower so incredibly puts together all these undead characters, which, he went on to then, he and his team are doing The Last of Us now. So you just really see that progression. But the Night King, as evil and spooky he looks great though.
He looks so cool.
He looks so cool.
They look so cool. And they're just so menacing because it's like it's evil without a purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to ruin everyone's day.
Literally. And you're like, what? Oh, huh?
Why are you doing this?
But,
Even when they try to explain it, you're still like, I don't know.
Yeah. But I love it because they kind of almost represent this, like, the natural forces. Yeah. Like, you know, rain, fire, snow, like, they're the amalgamation of just, like, all the natural forces in our world that just, like, come for us and we don't even see it coming.
It's almost like, I almost like think of them like the story of climate change and how like the earth is just kind of annoyed with how humanity has kind of disgraced, like, you know, like disgraced Westeros and Essos to the point where it's like the earth is reclaiming back what it, you know.
Yeah. And it's like
cleaning up house.
And it's like we kind of know it's there. We know like this could possibly be a problem, but we're so concerned with our own petty
Let's just put up this wall
issues,
and it will be the next generation's problem.
Yes.
Sound familiar? So Michele says about the Night King, I had a difficult time imagining how he plausibly might have found or forged a suit of armor. After discussing with David and Dan, I suggested that in the Night King's journeys, he perhaps discovered the ruins of some ancient civilization and scavenged pieces from that site. I wanted a costume to look as though he had bent pieces of old architecture or relics around his body to create something that isn't armor in a traditional sense. It looks as though he's begun to decompose because this character has lived for thousands of years, and these pieces he wears will have been even older than that. The armor proved to be one of the most difficult costumes to create.
I believe that.
She was like, this character is crazy.
Yeah. Especially when you realize how much is practical and how little is, you know, the White Watch, they enhance it with AI. They're not AI. Oh my gosh. CGI. What is our world coming to?
Yeah. She meant to say CGI.
They're enhanced with CGI. They're not made of CGI, right, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us essentially to the end of our Michele Clapton. I put the book away for a little bit, so we're done with that. But before we wrap up and play our favorite game, I thought that we would maybe have some honorable mentions on some of our favorite costumes that maybe didn't have a whole 10-minute segment dedicated to them. Do you want to go first? Who's some of your favorites?
Ooh, well, I think first things first, one of the most interesting characters in this show who never really always knows who they are, but very much goes on a journey to be accepted for who they are. We have Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah. Oh, Gwendolyn Christie.
Yes, girl.
I love Brienne of Tarth, and I love those early costumes where Brienne always had like this very interesting blue color that I just can't put my finger on.
It's like a slate blue.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's so cool with the copper armor.
Yeah, and just like such a great evolution too of like constantly wanting to be like the best. Well, wanting to be a knight in general because they weren't making women knights at this time. Yeah. So this evolution from like kind of like, it feels like this is like Brienne's armor that's kind of been passed down as holding down as like this member of the Tarth family, going to like being a knight, and very much end was like a very satisfying arc. And this is my other favorite character. Someone that I was like, if you guys kill Brienne of Tarth, I will be done with this show. Even though that's not the truth.
I love this character too, because I'm like, if Ned hadn't died, this is who Arya would be.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Another character that we have to bring up who has like a lot of behind the costume facts.
Yes.
So I suggest you all get that book. Margaery Tyrell.
Yes. She was one of my favorite characters.
Never rewears a costume. You're a Margaery apologist.
I am a Margaery apologist. Talk about a lady trying to play the game the best way she knows how. Her very first, like, the crossover with that rose gold fastening, the velvet shoulders. I cosplayed that.
It's a good one. Well, the thing I love about Margaery being a Tyrell is that she also very much is like proud to be of the House Tyrell and incorporates like the thorns of a rose in most of her costumes. I mean, there's that one that I could think of that has like the train of like roses trailing behind it. I mean, it's just Margaery is stunningly beautiful and just I love that she keeps up with the thorn.
And I feel like she's kind of the reverse of Cersei. She's playing the Game of Thrones just like Cersei. But unlike Cersei, her family acknowledges her intelligence and supports her. And unlike Cersei, she does actually care about people to a point. Like, she definitely puts on the show of care that a queen should, which is something Cersei never does, because she doesn't care. She wants the power and the title, but she doesn't care about the people. And Margaery is like very much what Cersei would have been had her father respected her and considered her more than just, you know, a marriageable pawn.
I see Margaery Tyrell almost like a Princess Diana like character, because in ways she is playing the Game of Thrones, but is approaching it from, like you said, almost an opposite to Cersei, where she is approaching it with kindness and does care about the people and whatnot. But they're also in a way that like a Princess Diana used her own sort of armor, was like her own dress, her own fashion as well too. And Margaery's different than Cersei in a way that like Cersei's armor is literally like, you know, built up metal and lots of gold and like these pauldrons, while Margaery's is very much like her armor is like using her femininity and these long flowing gowns, and people see her in the streets herself. And people see her in the street and it's like, ooh, like that's the queen.
That's our queen.
We like her. And like that's one of Margaery's strengths, is like using that like profound love for her as like a step in this game, which she unfortunately loses.
Yeah. You know who else loses, Spencer? One of our favorites. Our boy, Oberyn.
Oberyn Martel, played by Pedro Pascal. We were fans.
His breakout role.
We were fans of Pedro Pascal before all of you.
He showed up on screen and we were all like, hello.
I love Oberyn Martel. First of all, I mean, Pedro Pascal has been acting long before, you know, like I think of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all these other roles, but Game of Thrones, I just feel like he really found his footing. Such a great character. And I love that Oberyn's whole thing is like he's like this hot, sexy guy in Dorne, and he just has like these very kind of like smoker's jacket, almost like robes, where you can see the
sun.
He kind of like a Marlboro Man type look to him. And it's also like easy access. He just has to undrape like this jacket, because
you always see his chest. Always,
because the Martels and his I can't even say wife, just his like girlfriend, shall I say, hilarious,
his mistress.
It's all about in Dorne. It's all about sex, honestly. It's all about being
especially
hot.
for them.
It's hot outside, so we don't gotta wear a lot of clothes, and
they're literally staying at a brothel.
He's just I'll never forget the day I watched the scene where he died, though. Like that changed.
That was horrifying.
That changed culture.
Yeah. I feel like that's like the second big shocking death after Ned. Or does
the Red Wedding would have happened already?
Okay.
And this is still when Tyrion had just killed his father, so this is the trial to that.
Oh yeah.
So it's like right smack dab in the middle.
It's one of the shocking deaths.
I still remember it. I remember I had a friend over. I kind of had a crush on this friend actually, but whatever, she knows this. And I like made dinner that night, and like this was the episode that was on that night, and then it like fast forward to us like both being like devastated and in tears. I was like, well, this night didn't go as I imagined.
You're like, I thought this was gonna be much easier.
That really changed the tone.
You know who's not afraid to change the tone in a dark way?
Yo, let's talk about Melisandre.
Ooh.
I always loved this character, and I always kind of attributed her to Elizabeth, actually.
You have. I never quite understood that, but
I feel like you two are similar in ways, but now that I've seen the entire series, maybe not so much.
Maybe not so much.
I love her, the Red Priestess. They always, have that thing on. Always, just they stuck to the red.
Yeah.
You could just kind of tell that Michele Clapton really, like
understood the assignment.
Understood the assignment, but that you could just say that about this whole series. But she really built up her costume.
Yeah.
She didn't just wear like one, red shift dress the entire time. She was trapped in these colors of red, but Michele Clapton and team really kind of like continued to elaborate it and make it feel more extravagant toward the end.
Yeah. And also, like, it's not like, oh, she's just wearing a red shift dress. She always like puts in some sort of like, architectural like elements to all the gowns, even the simple ones, because like you can tell like she has some beautiful lines on this dress and just perfection from start to finish.
Just perfection, just like a majority of these characters, and I believe just like this show as a whole. But we're gonna get into it. Let's actually take a little break.
Yes.
I'm a little winded, but when we come back, we're gonna talk about quickly our final thoughts on the show, give it a Stitch rating, and play our favorite game.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Spencer, are you ready to give Game of Thrones your Stitch rating?
I am. I actually have never been more ready for this moment in my life, because this has been an argument between Elizabeth and I for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the final season and Game of Thrones as a whole. And I'll make this quick. I love Game of Thrones, and I think it is a perfect series. And I think up until like so the last season is, to me, not great. Because as Elizabeth and I,
the worst season.
As Elizabeth and I were talking about earlier in the car, you could tell when everyone on the show, not just the showrunners, the actors, everyone working on the show, they were gassed by the last season.
They were tired. They were burning out.
They were burnt out, and I think that that last season, I think there needed to be another season.
Yeah,
but they just didn't have it in them. No. So that last season is rushed.
Yes.
But I will not put aside the fact that everyone was in love with this show, saying it's the best show, the most perfect show, up until about episode 3 or 4 of the last season. Suddenly people are like, the show's garbage, the show's trash. Like, I don't like, no, suddenly everyone was up in arms. And I just don't think that's fair, because I can't act like we didn't spend a whole decade acting like this is the best show ever created. Yeah. So to me, yes, the last season butchered the ending. I think that they were on the right path, but I think that they need to give people a little bit more closure, in the sense of like Daenerys ended up being a bad person. You know, I think we needed to milk that a little bit more. I think Cersei probably should have been given a better ending. And I mean, as my favorite character, I wanted to see a little bit more than her getting crushed by a rock. Yeah. I think Bran being the king of the North probably needed more time to breathe. I think it makes sense as a character, but it needed more time to breathe. Yeah. I needed more reunion between Jon Snow and his siblings, and maybe we could have fleshed out a little bit more what Jon Snow's ending looked like. Yeah. So I just think that all the pieces were there. We just didn't give enough time to breathe. So for that, I think my Stitch rating is still a 5, because I know that I spent many, many years talking about how this is my favorite show. And I think one bad season, to me, like a bad 3 episodes, doesn't take away from the fact that this show really was doing its thing for a whole decade of our lives. So I am a final season apologist. Like I said, I understand it's not the best season, not even close. But like, we also had the Siege of Winterfell, which, okay, sure, the episode was dark, but it was a cool ass episode. It was cool. And when we see Daenerys destroy King's Landing, that's also some great stuff there too. So I just can't take away from the fact that this show was doing its thing to the very end. They were just gassed at the end. Yeah. And they just couldn't do it anymore. And that, to me, just shows how hard of work they put into this show for so many years.
Yeah. I agree. So much of this show is so good. People let the last season inform their opinion of the entire thing a little too much. As you know, I hate the ending.
Yeah.
I have opinions on how Daenerys should have died.
Yeah.
I would have loved, like, if they had this season just as it is, but then had another season where, like, Daenerys is attempting to rule and, like, kind of actually wrapping up all the storylines. There's so much that goes unfinished. I think that would have been incredible. But we don't have that. So it is what it is.
I wish that and I'm sure people would have hated this too back then, but I wish that we took like a 2-3 year hiatus from the show.
Yeah.
It ends with the siege of Winterfell, or no, like when she takes over King's Landing.
Yeah.
And then we stop. Let's take 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Like Elizabeth said, let's do House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
And revisit this years later and see what happened, years later, and give it some time.
Yeah.
I know the book's not out yet, but I just would like to think that there's just a little bit more detail in the ending, because it did feel like they had like 2 seasons. Like, gosh, we have so many episodes to do, and they're like, let's make it 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Like,
they also, like, the way it ends, like with the council and the, like, oh, we're gonna vote for our kings. I'm like, that's too much modern thinking.
Yeah. It just happened too quickly for me. So what's your Stitch rating, though?
I think my Stitch rating is a solid 4.
Okay.
Because, like, that last season is not great. I would even argue, like, the season or 2 before it, because, like, that speeding up of events, it starts at least the season before. That's not great. I don't think they put a lot of thought into how they were ending everybody's stories. And, they definitely don't tie up all the loose ends throughout the whole series. So a solid 4.
You could feel it in that, like, that season 7. You're like, oh, we're like running out of like landing strip, for this. Like, like the Night's Watch isn't even in Westeros yet, and you're like, oh, we have a lot to wrap up here. So yeah, it starts to feel like it's spiraling out of control. We created something so big and now it's crashing to earth. We didn't have enough landing for it. But just to wrap up my thoughts, I think it's such a great show that had a bad ending. I think that, like, the exile of David Benioff and DB Weiss as showrunners, I think, is a little unfair because the ending's bad. They should have got a slap on the wrist, which they certainly have.
Yes. Yeah.
But, for them to, like...
What have they done since this?
They did 3 Body Problem on Netflix, which is actually a good show.
Yeah.
But they were supposed to do a Star Wars movie, and that didn't happen.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I think
about that.
It's just a lot of, like, negative energy attached to their names. I think is really just undeserved.
Yeah.
Anyways... Let's play one costume, rule them all. Let's wrap this up.
Absolutely. Spencer, hit it. The one costume to rule them all.
All right. Well, I think my costume is quite obvious. Cersei's coronation gown after the Live of 7, the destruction of the Sept of Baelor.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah. I knew this before I even started the notes for this one. Yeah, that's my one costume. I won't even get into it.
No. My one costume, Daenerys's white and red fur with the chain. Like, just talk about a turning moment. Talk about a turning moment for her.
Yeah, especially I love now that we have this added fact of, like, the red seeping underneath. Just
all the blood she spills.
I feel like people should have listened to Michele Clapton a little bit more.
Yeah,
she seemed to know how to end this show.
Yeah, she did.
She knew what was going on, and maybe no one else did. And that brings us to the end of our Game of Thrones episode. I can't believe we made it. I have to admit, I was a little nervous about this episode. There's a lot to cover, but I think we gave it a good go.
We did.
You
We
know?
absolutely did.
And sometimes we get the critique of like, oh, you guys didn't really add a new behind the costume facts. We just gave you the book that has all of them.
Go buy it.
Yeah.
Go, people talk about print being dead. Go support print.
Yeah.
Go support print media and Michele Clapton and buy the book.
We talked about doing this as a 3-part series, getting into all the characters, but
we talked about doing it season by season.
Yeah. But I think we're going to leave it here for now because we're actually going somewhere quite exciting next. Yeah. We're leaving Westeros for a more colorful place as we prepare for, some upcoming stuff.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, where are we going?
Next week, we're going to go on a little balloon ride to visit the wonderful land of Oz with the original classic film, The Wizard of Oz.
We are finally going to be talking about The Wizard of Oz, costume designed by Gilbert Adrian, starring Judy Garland. I mean, I'm very excited. I love talking about classic films. And obviously, we're getting primed and ready for Wicked season, which when this episode comes out will be about a couple days before the release of Wicked. So you all know that's coming.
I think we're also about to go on another rabbit hole of drama because filming of The Wizard of Oz laden with drama.
And I love drama.
You do love drama.
Thank you all for watching. Make sure you tune in to our next episode, The Wizard of Oz. And also don't forget to check out my new podcast, which will be coming out on the same channel you're listening to this or watching, called The Costume House of Spencer Williams. We'll be having Colleen Atwood to talk about one battle after another, which is a very fun conversation. And you know how I feel about Colleen Atwood. She is like my Taylor Swift.
She is. Yeah. She is. She absolutely is.
Email us at theartofcostume@gmail.com. Let us know what your favorite costume rule of them all is from Game of Thrones. Follow us on Instagram at The Art of Costume Pod or TikTok at The Art of Costume. We still have a merch store, theartofcostume.com/podstore. Winter is coming, so get your sweatshirts and hoodies. And as always, leave us a 5-star text review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because there's some fun things happening here. You get to see fun pictures and little videos and whatnot. Yeah. We really have a good thing going over there. So with that, Elizabeth, we need a break.
We need a break. We've got to go find the yellow brick road.
Yeah. Game of Thrones is a little dark. I need something brighter.
Yeah.
Some rainbows. Somewhere over the rainbow.
Somewhere over the rainbow. We will see you all. Have a fantastic week.